In this demonstration, I will use the Azure portal to create a site-to-site VPN gateway connection between on-premises network and a virtual network. So the first thing that we will do in order to create a VPN gateway is to create a virtual network. Remember, the purpose of this VPN is to connect an on-prem network to the virtual network in Azure. So we're going to create first the virtual network. So I will go to this place and I will look for virtual network. And I will now click this create button so that I can create an instance of Azure Virtual Network. For the subscription, I will leave it this way. For the resource group, I'm going to click create new. Then I will name the resource group test RG1. Then I will click OK. For the virtual network name, I will name it VNet1. And as for the region, it's going to be East US. Then I will click the IP address tab. I will now configure the IP address and the subnet. Now you can decide to leave it this way. You can as well decide to reconfigure it. For this IP address, I will use 10.1.0.0. Then I will click this edit button to edit this subnet. For the name, I will name it front end. And in the range, I'm going to use 10.1.0.0/24 and I will click save. Then I will click review. Now I have the button. It simply shows that the review was successful. So I'll click create button. Now is initializing the deployment of the new virtual network. And now he is submitting the deployment. So at this point, I am going to pause this video and I'll be back once the deployment is complete. Now that the deployment is complete, I'll click go to resource. Now let me open the whiteboard because I would like to use this whiteboard to demonstrate for us exactly what I am about to do. So now I have a virtual network. So I'll draw this virtual network. And the name of this virtual network is what? VNet1. Now we'll go back to the configuration. The next thing that I will do now is to create a gateway subnet. Why do I need to do this? The virtual network gateway requires a specific subnet named gateway subnet. The gateway subnet is part of the IP address range for your virtual network, and it contains the IP addresses that the virtual network gateway resources and services make use of. So when you create the gateway subnet, you will specify the number of IP addresses that the subnet contains. The number of IP addresses needed depends on the VPN gateway configuration that you want to create. Some configuration require more IP addresses than the other. So it is best to specify /27 or higher, for your gateway subnet. So in order to create this gateway subnet, I will go to the settings of my VNet, then I will click the subnet. If you remember, we already have a default subnet that I rename front end. So I'll click subnet, that is this, so that I can add a new subnet. The first thing that I will do is to select this drop down so that I can select the purpose of the subnet. The purpose of this subnet is virtual network gateway, and you can see it generated the name itself, and that is the gateway subnet. Now, we now need to go to the IP address range. In the IP address range, you can still use 10.1.0.0, or better still, I can make use of 10.1.255.0/27. Then I can now click add. That is the gateway subnet. So the gateway subnet has been successfully added to what? To our VNet. Now, the step 3 is to now create a VPN gateway. In this step, I'm going to create a virtual network gateway, that is a VPN gateway for the virtual network. Now, creating a VPN gateway or creating a gateway can often take like 45 minutes or more, depending on the selected gateway SKU. So I'm going to click here and I will search for virtual network gateway. Now, here is it. You can as well search from here, virtual network gateway, and I will select the virtual network gateway. Then I will click create so that I can create a new virtual network gateway, and that will now take me to where I will now select the necessary information so that I can create the virtual network gateway. In the subscription, I'm going to click Azure subscription 1. In the name, I'm going to name it. But before I name it, do you realize that in the resource group, it said that we have to select the network so that we can get to the resource group. Now, I will name the virtual network gateway. I will call it VNet1GW. And the region is going to be East US. For the gateway type, it's going to be VPN, of course. And for the SKU, we can pick any SKU. If you click this drop down, there are different SKU. And whichever SKU you pick will determine the price that you're going to pay, and will also determine how long it will take to deploy the virtual network gateway. So I will leave it this way. I'm going to pick this default SKU. Then I'll move to the generation. I'm going to leave it generation 2. And for the virtual network, I will now click this drop down and I will select my VNet 1. And you can see immediately I selected the VNet 1, you now give me the region. Then I will now move to the public IP address. In the public IP address, I have two options: to use the existing one or to create a new one. I will leave it this way, then I'll come to the public IP address name. In the public IP address name, I will use vnet 1 GW PIP1. So this is going to be the name of the public IP address for this virtual network gateway. And for the public IP address SKU, I will leave it standard. And as for the assignment, it's going to be static. Then for the enable active mode, I will leave it enabled. And I will now move to the second public IP address. The second public IP address name is going to be vnet 1 GW PIP2. So it simply means that this virtual network gateway is going to have two public IP address. The first one is this one, and the second one is this one. And for the SKU, it's going to be standard. And as for the configuration of the BGP, I will leave it disabled. Then in the enable key vault access, I'm going to leave it also disabled. Then I will click review plus create. Now that the validation has passed, I will click create. So like I said earlier, the deployment will take a longer time, between 40 to 50 minutes or more than that. It depends actually on the SKU that you selected. So the minimum time you should expect this deployment to be ready should not be less than 40 minutes. So I'm going to pause this video and I'll be back once the deployment is complete. Now the deployment is complete, so I'll click go to resource. This will take me to the overview of the virtual network gateway that I just provisioned. Now we'll go to the settings. Under the settings, I'll click properties. What I want to do is to view the public IP addresses. If you remember, I decided to configure two public IP addresses. I named the first one vnet 1 GW PIP1 and vnet 1 GW PIP2. So these are the public IP addresses assigned to this virtual network gateway. So I'll go back to the diagram. So what I have just achieved now is to configure a virtual network gateway. That's a VPN. Remember, it is connected to to the VNet. So what is the name of this VPN? Let me title it properly. Just to remember the name we use, VNet 1 GW. Okay, I haven't verified that the virtual network was successfully provisioned, and I have also verified the public IP address of the VNet gateway. Then I'm going to now draw a line between the VNet gateway. Just want to write the public IP address. Again, what's the public IP address? 4.157.36.44. So 4.157 192.168.36.44. Now, the next thing that I will do now is to create a local network gateway. Now, the local network gateway is a specific object that is deployed to Azure that represents your on-premises location, that is your site, for routing purposes. So you're going to give the site a name by which Azure can refer to it, and then specify the IP addresses of the on-premises VPN devices to which you create a connection. You will also specify the IP addresses prefixes that are routed through the VPN gateway to the VPN devices. The address prefixes you specify are the prefixes located on your on-premises network. Now, if your on-premise network changes or you need to change the public IP address for the VPN devices, you can easily update the values later. So you can create a separate local network gateway for each VPN devices that you want to connect to. Some highly available connectivity design specify multiple on-premises VPN devices. So in order to create these VPN devices, what I will do is to now search for local network gateway. And in the local network gateway, I'm going to now configure it. But before I configure it, let's look at this information. It said that the local network gateway will create a what? A local network gateway to represent the on-premises sites that you want to connect to your what? To your virtual network. And this local network gateway specifies the IP address of the VPN devices and IP addresses ranges located on the what? On the on-premises site. So I'm going to click create so that I can create a new instance of the local network gateway. And for the resource group, I'm going to select test RG1. And as for the name of this local network gateway, I'm going to name it site1. Then as for the endpoint, I'll leave it IP address. What this one simply means is that I'm supposed to enter either the IP address or the FQDN of the device that is in the on-prem. That is the VPN devices that we have in the what? In the on-prem. So what I will do now is just to enter a particular IP address, 192.168.0.0. But if you are configuring this in a real life environment, please, you have to enter the IP address of the device, that is your VPN device that is in the on-prem. And that IP address has to be a public IP address. You can also specify the ranges of IP addresses as well. So I'm still going to use 192.168.0.0/24. Then I will click review plus create. So it's going to review if everything that I've selected is in good order. After that, it will allow me to create the local network gateway. Now it's ready. I'll click create. So right away, it's creating the local network gateway. So it's initializing the deployment. As that is going on, let's go back to this diagram. Now, what we have achieved now is that we have created here what we call a local network a local network gateway. A local network gateway that will now be connected to your entire on-premises. And inside this particular your on-premises, you are going to have a device there, a VPN device that has what? That has a public IP address. And that public IP address is part of the information you use while configuring this local network gateway. And what is the name of this local network gateway? I call it site 1. So I'll go back now to the Azure portal. Now I'll click go to resource. So this is the site 1. Now in the site 1 now, I can configure the VPN devices. Now the site-to-site connection to an on-premise network require a VPN devices like I've explained in the diagram. So if you have the VPN devices, you will now need to configure that VPN devices. The purpose of doing that is to make sure that it's linked to what? To the local network gateway that you created for it in the cloud. Let us assume now that you've done that. The next thing that you will now do is to now create a VPN connection. Now, in order to create a VPN connection, what will you do? You come to the connections under the settings, and in the connection under the settings, you will click add. This will allow you to create a what? A new VPN connection, and the resource group is going to be test RG1. Under the connection type, I will click the drop down and I will select site to site. Now you can do VNet to VNet, but it's just that this one is a site to site, because if you look at my diagram, this is a site and here is also represent another site in the cloud, whereas this is what my on-prem. So I will now select the name for the connection. I can call it con1 or connection 1 or whatever. You can give it any name of your choice. Then after this, you can now click on the settings tab. In the settings tab, this is where you now choose how you want to connect. Now on the virtual network gateway, I'll click the drop down and I will select what? The VNet1 GW. Then on the local network gateway, this is the local network gateway site 1. And this is what? The virtual network gateway VNet1 GW. So I'll click site 1. Now for the authentication method, you can use a key value certificate. You can as well use a shared key, which is the PSK. So I will leave it shared key, and the shared key now you will now put it here. Now that shared key, that is the value here, must match the value that you are using for your local on-premises VPN devices. If this field doesn't appear on your portal page, or you want to later update this key, you can do so once the connection object is created. So I will just put a key here. Like I said, I don't have a device there to use to configure it or test run it, but these are the steps you need to go through to actually create a VPN gateway. Then under the IKE protocol, I'll leave it IKE v2, and if you go to use Azure private IP address, I'll leave it the way it is. Then under the enable BGP, I will leave it like this. For the IPsec/IKE policy, it's going to be default. For the use policy based traffic selector, I will use disabled. And for the DPD timeout in seconds, I will use what? I'll leave it this way, 45 seconds. For the connection mode, I'm going to leave it default. And on the natural association, I'm going to leave it the way it is. What I will now do is to click review plus create. So the major thing you need to select here is what? The virtual network gateway and the local network gateway. And by doing that, you will now be able to do what? To link the two of them. So which means that you will be able to now create, a link between what? Between the two of them. And do not forget the security or that key will be somewhere here to determine the security or how the two sides will now be able to transfer information. So once the key is not correct, that is this shared key, it will not be able to send information. And do not also forget that we have protocols, we have policy that you can actually select to provide more security to the connection. Now click review plus create. So validation passed, then I'll click create now. So once again, I'm going to pause this video and I'll be back once the connection is actually ready. So the deployment is what? Is complete. If I click go to resource, it will take me to where? To the resource group. Now in the list of resources inside the resource group, remember we have the virtual network gateway, which is this one. So I will click it and I'll come to the connection. Under the connection, I will see the list of what of the connection. Look at the connection I just created, con1. And if you configure it properly, the status supposed to be showing you succeeded, or maybe at some point it might be telling you connecting and finally tell you succeeded. But right now it's telling me unknown. The only reason why it's saying unknown is because I don't have a real devices in the on-prem. So I just enter a default IP address just to configure it. So that is why it's showing unknown. But in a real life situation, once you follow those steps that I actually show you guys in this video, you can comfortably configure a VPN connection so that you can connect your on-prem to the Azure. And once again, what have we achieved in this video? The first thing I did was to create what? The virtual network. And after I created the virtual network, I now went ahead to create the VPN gateway. So this is the step 2. So in the process of creating the VPN gateway, I was able to what? To configure the public IP address for what? For the VPN gateway. And after that, I now created a local site. That is a local connection site. And that is what? The step 3. And the step 4 is to implement what? The connection between the site 1 and my VPN gateway. So I refer to that connection as what? Con1. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing to this channel. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And do not forget to leave a like and share this video. See you in the next one.